Welcome to the Rich Life Discourse. I always wanted to be a professor. And so this is going to be a discourse, almost like a little bit of a lecture, but we're going to have a little bit of coaching at the end, asking questions. And this is going to be my kind of my dream come true is to teach people about how their thoughts affect their life. And today we are going to be talking about doubt. And I'm wearing the hat, you can see. I'm wearing the hat because you don't have to be a knight in shining armor in order to face your doubts. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the nature of doubt, about how it can inhibit our lives, how it's based in fear. So let's start exploring. Thank you for coming today. And we'll explore the nature of doubt. We'll start off with doubt itself. Doubt is, I think it's a protection. I think it's a safety mechanism. When we were in the wild, we would have these doubts about whether this was a tiger or not. It kept us safe. And we can use this power of doubt against ourselves. One of my friends she's a mentor and she's super successful. And you know what I thought that once you were successful, you wouldn't have those doubts. But she does. She still does in almost anything that she does. She's continually exploring and putting herself out there and trying to capitalize and create success and that all while doubting. And she created a name for this, and that is the doubt monster. And I kind of liked that because it shows that these thoughts, these feelings can loom over us. They can be kind of scary. We can scare ourselves with our own doubts. And I think the doubt itself is made of fear. And there's so many ways that we can doubt. We can doubt a situation. We can doubt another person. I think this is really damaging when we doubt ourselves, because we can limit ourselves with doubt. And doubt is, like I said, that useful tool when somebody is actually lying to us or trying to take advantage of us or trying to sell us something that we don't need. Some skepticism, some doubt is a good thing. And it protects us. So all of these thoughts, they serve us, or they're trying to serve us. And we can doubt things that are true, though. We can doubt whether other people love us. We can doubt our own beauty. If somebody tells us that we're beautiful, we can doubt that. And we can doubt our own ability. And I think that's where a lot of people have those feelings those fears. I'm not good enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not worthy. As I say that, you might have had thoughts like that and that are similar to that. And let that be a part of your experience right now. Take a deep breath into them. Because your thoughts bring up feelings. And these thoughts bring up really challenging feelings. And they can scare us. And we think that those feelings are a confirmation of the doubt itself. We think that because it feels so bad when I say, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, that means that it's true. And then that limits us. And then we're operating almost on half of what we can really do. It's an inhibitor. It's a kind of like a governor that inhibits us. But the thing is that those feelings are not confirming the doubts themselves. They're only confirming the thinking. And so when you have doubts and it feels crappy, it's not because of what's out there or that it's true. It's only because of your thoughts inside of your head. And if you can see that, you start to see through the doubt. And that's really cool. Because and I think we know this, we get in our own way. People say that all the time. They realize it, or maybe they don't recognize it too. But we get in our own way, and we can stop ourselves with judgment, with doubt, before we even started. And it feels real. We are making a mistake. We're falling into this illusionary trap of the mind because the mind is so good. Our consciousness is so good at making whatever thinking that we have feel real in the moment. It's powerful. And man, does it hurt. And those doubts, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, those can hurt. Those can hurt us deep. But there's a part of us that can't be hurt by it. There's this inner well-being that shines through. It kind of breaks through the cracks of those doubts if we let it. It's kind of like the river is flowing underneath, this river of beauty and well-being, and then there's this ice of doubt on top. And you cannot dip your toe in the water if there's the ice on top. But guess what? Ice can break and ice can melt. And you don't have to do anything. It's the nature of it. The doubts can disappear just as quickly as when they came. And the feelings that you had, those dissipate too when the thoughts disappear. That's the nature of it all. And then the doubt monster doesn't have to be scary. It goes from being this mammoth three-headed Cerberus of a dog, says rah, 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 that blocks our way, to kind of being this little puppy that's like, and we don't have to take it seriously. And then it is just there, and we can, the little barking can go off in our head. You're not good enough. And it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything if we see that it's made of thought. But that's not to say that it can't do something, that it can hurt us because our thinking, our consciousness makes it real. So it can hurt, yeah. But even that is just something that can pass through. It's not as scary. What if your doubts that are all consuming, that take up the whole screen, could just shrink? And they can, because they're made of thought, and they do. Because there are times when they're huge and massive and right in the middle, right in your face. And then there are other times where they shrink away, and you don't even notice them. They disappear from view because you're looking in a different direction. That's powerful to know that. That's powerful to see the ebb and the flow of these thoughts and emotions. Because when we're in it, when it's in our face, it can feel like it's forever. Like we are going to be facing this, and this is real, and this hurts, and it's never going to end. But if we know that the wave comes in and crashes, and then it comes out again, and that's just the nature of waves, and that's the nature of the thoughts and the emotions that follow the thought. That gives us freedom. Then we can play around in the waves, right? Instead of being tumbled around, we know how they work, and we can even get on a surfboard or bodyboard, or we can ride the waves. We can go with the waves. We can enjoy the waves even. Because they can crash around us and we can tumble, and sometimes we forget. Yeah, we forget, and then the doubts take over again, and then we remember. That's a part of it too. So yeah, if you're scaring yourself with doubts, and that's what you're doing, you are frightening yourself with the power of your thinking innocently. It's not like you're doing it on purpose, like, aha, today I'm going to think really terrible thoughts and make myself very upset. No, you're those protective thoughts will come. You're doing it innocently. And then we can start to let go. We start to see where the thoughts are coming from, and they're not coming from our past. They're just coming from in the moment creative thought. And we'll have new thought that comes. So you don't have to scare yourself with your own doubts. If you see through them, just remember when they come up, oh yeah, there they come again. Yeah, it's just a thought. It's like thoughts are like bubbles. And it's like a bubble machine. And these bubbles are trying to serve you. It's trying to give you the thoughts that you need to survive and to thrive. And it's not really trying to give you the thoughts you need to be happy. Unless those thoughts are coming from your inner well-being, those thoughts will make you happy naturally, but they're not trying to. Those are joyful thoughts. And so it's okay to be in that place of doubt. It's okay to have the doubt monster looming on the horizon. And you can still do what you need to do. It doesn't limit you. And that's cool. That friend, she would just continue to do what she needed to do. It wouldn't make her freeze or run away or fight. Because that's what we do with real threats. But you don't have to do that with your doubts. You don't have to be the knight. You don't have to fight or freeze or flee because you're doing it to yourself. Because it's just thought and it's just those bubble machines. And bubbles, the nature of bubbles is that they pop. You don't have to go around and pop each doubt and say, oh, that's not true. And then, oh, this doubt does not align with who I am. And this doubt, I'm going to make affirmations that against all of these doubts. You don't have to. You can if you want. You can pop bubbles. You'll be doing it all day. Bubbles will pop on their own. They'll float down and maybe they'll last a little bit on the grass and then they'll pop. So, and you don't have to take the bubbles seriously too. They're just a reflection of you. You can see yourself in them. And you'll have bubbles that come from that space of wellness, that space of knowing. Let's talk about that for a second too. And then I'd like to open it up to questions and comments, maybe even coaching. I used to be so indecisive on stupid little crap, like what to eat or any decision. I would be like in my head about it. I still like to overcomplicate my decisions. I'm not as indecisive as I was though, because now I'm okay with not knowing. And that's okay to kind of be in the place of doubts and not know, not have like those doubts will come, but really we cannot know something. Damn, we there's a lot of times we don't know a lot, and we cannot know until we know. In the real world and in our minds. And we have this place of knowing within us that isn't going to give you the answer like an equation. You can't just input A plus B and then it will say, aha, yes, B equals C. It doesn't work that way, this knowing, because it comes from our inner wellness. It doesn't work in the way of the material world. It works with the rules of the mind. And we have this knowing, this intelligence within us that our doubt can cover up, like that ice on top of the river. But it's underneath. And when you slow down, when you make space for that, well, then it comes through. The ice melts, it cracks. And there's an inner knowing underneath that we can access that gives us everything that we need. And that's what I mean when I say that you have everything you need already within you because of that space of knowing. It doesn't come from our intellectual minds. This kind of works a little bit more like a data storage where we can get files. Michael Neal talks about that. Oh, you can get files and it works great. You know, you can remember details but the big questions like, what's my purpose? What should I do in my relationship to connect better? Those can't be answered over here in the data banks. There's the knowing that comes from underneath, and in the data banks, if we search the data banks, we're like, we can't find it. It's nowhere to be found. Well, of course, you're looking in the wrong spot. You're looking at a tool that's not meant to find some of life's hardest questions. Look towards your knowing. And I think if you do that and let there be a little bit of space, sit with it, that, wow, so much will come to you. A single thought is all it takes. A realization. And that can change everything. That can melt the ice instantly. The doubts can drop because the doubts were made of thought this whole time. And so they can disappear in an instant with a single realization. But it has to be the right realization, and it has to come from this knowing. It's not a thought that comes from your intellectual mind. It comes from within. And when you find that, And you don't even find it, you find the space from which it comes. You see it. And you look towards that. Some of the most challenging things in your life can suddenly become so clear. Worry can melt. Doubt can disappear. Fear, that fear that holds us back from being our authentic selves, there it goes. Maybe it'll come back, but you'll remember. And then it's that little yapping dog instead of the monster in your face. Okay? I would like to open it up for questions, conversations, small, maybe one-on-one coaching. What did you hear today? Okay, I'm going to switch hats. I'm going to switch to my coaching question and answer hat. I'd love to hear what you heard.
I heard that your doubts come from feelings and your feelings come from thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And those thoughts might or might not be true and accurate. And if they're not accurate, then they're causing you feelings which might not feel so good.
Yeah. And actually, your feelings are now a guide. I was telling my wife last night, I kind of like this. It's a little bit more of the millennial speaker, probably even the generation younger. But I said that if you are having crappy feelings, then thoughts are sus. And sus means suspect. You should.
Yes, I know.
Oh, you're with it.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Okay, millennial, go.
Yeah. So thoughts are sus. And that's one of your cues to know when it feels really bad. And that's a mistake people make, that they think that when it feels really bad, that's confirming the doubt that they have about themselves or other people. But really, it's only confirming their thinking. What else?
Well, I'm thinking about my own life when I'm successful at realizing that thought directs feeling. The thought bubbles can be popped, and it really doesn't take all that much work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the realization that, oh, I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling bad because my thoughts are inaccurate. Oh, there's those thought bubbles. Okay, bye. And they go away. Right?
Hey, bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. And I think what I'd like to do is to set intention. So my intention, so that I don't get to the point where I'm in that feeling really badly about something. Okay, so if I have that in my my mind about the thought feeling connection, and I set my intention of how I'd like to direct my life for that day or for that hour or for that minute, then it's easier. It just goes it just goes on, it stays on the rails. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there's that part of us, that inner wellness that I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
And that part of us is what can set our intentions, really. Like, we don't even have to, you don't have to be vigilant.
No.
About this. You don't have to be on guard. Oh, my thoughts are coming up again. Oh, but I'm ready. No, you don't have to. That's kind of the cool thing about this, is that, like, the waves will come in and we know that they'll ebb. You don't really have to do anything. And it's okay to be in that feeling. You don't have to be on guard for it. That's kind of one of the nice things.
But can I be doubting? Can I doubt you for a minute?
Doubt away.
Okay. When I know that I'm going into a difficult conversation with someone, maybe it's a family member or a friend or a student, I purposefully set my intention. And some people might call it praying. I just summon my good angels and say, okay, this is my intention, that I want to do no harm. And it only takes a second, and it's become a habit with me. It only takes a second, and it has never failed me. So what do you think about that?
That's great. Maybe that's part of your intuitive guidance, that you would do that, and that's helpful. And the way that I'm seeing it, so it might be slightly different, but that's okay. The way that I'm seeing it is that you already have the angels, that you don't have to do anything to set the intention, that presence, that inner well-being is already within you. And really, it's just, it's not a adding. That's what I want to caution people away from, that you don't have to, it's not an addition. I was reading the book Clarity by Jamie Smart, and he talks about it's subtractive. It's your clarity minus the contaminated thinking is what will give you that wellness.
So here's a question. I often get this is the way I perceive it. I get blindsided, and then I overreact, and it's out of fear and doubt, maybe, about what I'm perceiving the situation to be. So, and that's frightening. Yeah. Because I feel out of control. So as long as I can set my intention and things go smoothly and I don't get blindsided, I'm fine. But then if I get blindsided by something, I go into fear and I overreact, and it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
And what's happening there, Melissa, my wife, she's very much in trauma and knows the workings of the brain. And I want to include the principles with that. So the way that I'm seeing it now, and maybe it'll change, is that we have a filtering mechanism that is filtering based off of safety. And that part of the brain is quicker, it's faster than your intellectual part of the brain. And it is always scanning. It's kind of like this radar that we have, this radar system, and it's always scanning the environment. And some people, it's made of thought, though. It's even that quick thinking is still a thought. It's still your reaction, even if it might not have like a words to it. That fear is a thought, and it's quick and it overrides. And that was such an important system to us as we evolved. But now we're using it in this way that it wasn't meant to be used. We are, because of possibly past trauma. And again, take this with like a whole ocean full of salt, because I'm not the expert here, but I think I'm seeing something. But that we sometimes turn up the sensitivity on it because of trauma, because of some things that have happened in our past, maybe. The sensitivity gets turned up. And then that radar can mistake birds for planes. If its sensitivity is too high, it can make mistakes.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, how do you protect yourself from protecting yourself?
Well, and maybe Melissa can speak better to that than I could. I think that thought might be really quick, but that since it's made of thought, we can see that it's made of thinking. And that instead of adding on to it with more fear, with our intellectual minds, once they catch up, and then they're like, oh no, because really that quick fear is quick to activate, but it's also quick to dissipate. And so what happens is it goes, and then you've got, oh, radar hits, and then it goes. You might be reacting, and then, but it goes down. But we have this ability to then take over with our intellectual minds to be like, oh no, something's wrong. That means something is terrible, instead of seeing that it's just this protective system for us. And that it's doing its job. And I don't know, but I think that if we start to see it that way, that it will have less and less of an impact. And that like the wave can crash, but it can go out much more easily if we let it. And
I
then,
need to think about that.
Yeah. I'm going to talk with Rob Cook on Monday. We're filming a podcast, and he is an expert on the trauma and the principles. He focuses on that, and because he's had PTSD, so I'll let him maybe share some of that, and maybe I'll share some of my thinking. Tell him again, it's with an ocean of salt.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What else?
That in itself is pretty darn big.
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
I
I
think
think,
it is.
and for me, that's probably the biggest barrier to my well-being that I have. So there's nothing that I could add on to that would make it that I want to talk about, because I need to sit with that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming today to a Rich Life Discourse. And we're going to do this again because this is so much fun for me. And I have a couple of ideas for our next session. And the one that I think I'm going to go with is, the title is, okay, but when am I going to feel grown up? And it's going to be about that illusion of feeling grown up, of being that adult that has everything together. And so if that sounds interesting to you, join me next week. And if you are loving what we're talking about here, join the conversation. It could be through coaching. Reach out to me. You can find me at Rich Life Realization on Instagram. You can email me, richliferealization@gmail.com. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks.